Blades of Time on the PC. This is actually being played on a quad-core AMD A4 processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM. Why are you not playing this game? I know you're not playing it because if you're watching this video, you either have not played this game at all and you're wondering, you followed the thumbnail, you thought the thumbnail was cute, or you follow my channel, you've heard me rant and rave about this game constantly, about how much I've loved playing it over the last couple of years, how it's arguably one of my favorite action games of the last decade. Or maybe you have played the game, you just want to see how poorly I'm going to play it. Well, this video is going to be a slightly optimized run. We're still on the normal difficulty level, so we'll get to that later. I would still love to know why you're not playing this game yet. And you're running out of excuses, because the game has a free demo on Steam. It runs on, 5-year-old budget laptop toasters. At 30 FPS on those budget laptops, but this is actually a budget laptop from last year, and you're going to see this game run at 50 to 60 FPS. Of course, I'm going to have everything set to low, because let's be honest. This is a stress test for my laptop, basically. I played the game for an hour. Actually, I played the entire DLC, the Dismal Swamp, which is actually not very good. We'll do a video on that later. Yeah, that Dismal Swamp downloadable content is not good. And the frame rate's not great, even on this laptop. But I'm going to play the normal game, because it's actually the game you want to play. So don't save your money. Oh, the DLC costs $2.50. You might as well just use the money to buy an actually good game. Like Loop Trousers cost $1.50. You might as well spend your money on that instead. Don't buy the DLC for this game. But this game is on sale for $5 on Steam as of, the Steam Summer Sale 2019. If you're watching this video after a summer sale, maybe you're interested in buying this game. I'm going to try and sell this game as well as I can, by playing optimally, but also kind of explaining why the game's, unfortunately, not very easy. There is no easy mode in this game. It is very, very hard. And I'm going to blaze through most of this game, or at least the first 2 chapters, to give you a taste about what you're going to see. And I'm going to try and explain things as I go. But I'm going to be the first person to say I'm not going to recommend this game to people who are frustrated by games that are very fast and require you to perform a lot of twitch-heavy actions. This is not a game for you if you want to play something that's easy to get into. It's very demanding. The basics. Not those basics. Controls. We have a sword attack, which is my normal attack. I have a kick attack, which is basically a launcher. So if you press the kick attack button, which is mapped to this Y button on the Xbox 360 controller, you launch your enemy into the air and do some somersaults on them. As you'll see in this video, early on, again, as I'm explaining how this game works, the moves you choose will matter. The game is not as button mashy, believe it or not, as a game like Bayonetta or Metal Gear Revengeance, games that are spectacle fighters, but are mainly in many ways about mashing on a couple of buttons until a QTE appears and you just keep pressing a button to make the QTE advance. This is a game where, generally speaking, the way the brawling combat works at first is you can spam the sword attack button. Then if an enemy gets close to you, or if you see an enemy that's about to attack you, press the kick button to do a launcher, and that will get you airborne, and it may help you dodge. So while you're fighting, you can dodge pretty easily in this game. And you can integrate your dodging into the combos. So you'll see me mash on this sword attack button a lot, and then if someone gets close to me, I'll press the Y button to launch these enemies like that. That's my somersault kick move there. So if I'm fighting one enemy, I can just smash on this X button, this sword attack button, and I'll basically be able to wipe out that enemy. Your basic attack is fine. But as soon as an enemy starts, telegraphing their attack, as soon as another enemy gets close to you, you're better off pressing that Y button so you can get airborne and hopefully dodge their attack. I'll be doing that a lot because in this game the enemies are very fast and they don't really hold back very often. Especially as we go further along in the game. About half hour into the game, it starts really punishing you by putting you in situations where you will not be able to get out unless you're willing to juggle your sword and kick attacks with the proper timing. Press the down button on the D-pad to get my compass out. The frame rate right now, my frame rate counter is at 120 FPS on a laptop, which is absurd. It's patently absurd. But since there are no enemies on screen, we're not moving around, that's not going to stay. That's not going to last. When I'm playing on this laptop, the frame rate jostles between 40 and 80 FPS pretty regularly. I have the VSync turned on, actually. It doesn't, well, let me put it this way. If it prevents screen tearing, great, but it doesn't seem to make a difference as far as, like, keeping the frame rate stable. So I guess the best way to play this game is with a really low, with a low resolution and low detail, then crank up the details as you go. Whoops, I forgot to get a few more things. Let me get some contrast here. See on the top, see on the outer rim of the compass right there, the inner rim shows my objective. The outer rim shows the treasure. So the treasure's in that direction. I'm going to go over there. Pressing the right trigger to dash. You're going to use this a lot in combat because, like I said, enemies are very fast. So unfortunately, one of the things you're going to have to juggle along with the button mashing is the ability to dash around the battlefield. You got to spam that dodge button pretty constantly in some fights because you got to get yourself into a position where you can keep the enemies in front of you and get them in a position where they won't be able to attack you anymore. And the most important issue, obviously, is positioning yourself by using this dash attack or this dash slide constantly so that you're able to, again, get your enemies in front of you and prepare your next combo. So if I seem to be doing a lot of things very quickly and it's kind of hard to keep up, just keep that in mind. I'll be dashing a lot like that with the right trigger. I'll be spamming the sword button like this. I'll be pressing the Y button to do my kick somersault. So if you see me do my somersaulting kick attack, that means I needed to get airborne and juggling enemies so that I could get some breathing room. I'll be doing that a lot later on in the game. I might even restart a checkpoint just so I can explain this more clearly. So here's the next batch of enemies coming up. Here we are. Okay, we're going to spam on this X button. And if another enemy attacks me, I'll press the Y button to get airborne like that. So that means I can get vertical and prevent enemies from getting too close to me and attacking me while I'm in the middle of an attack. So I go vertical to keep my combo going. And as soon as I hit the ground, it does a little earthquake tremor. And that little tremor has an area of effect around me. So that means any enemies that are close to me when I land from that vertical attacking somersault move that I was doing are gonna take a little bit of damage and it will stun them temporarily. So there's a lot of nuance to this combat that I was not expecting when I first played it. I was just treating it as like a Bayonetta-like brawler. Mash on the attack buttons, press a different button if you want to kill enemies more quickly. Here the combat seems to be based on, the combat seems to be based on do the optimal combo for one enemy, and if anyone gets close, try to get out of it. You can dash away, or in my case, I just keep moving. We'll get to these altars in a second. Okay, we're going to move in this direction. So first down on the D-pad, let's go over here to where the compass is pointing us. This isn't a puzzle, it's just a gate. Again, why does the game make us do this God of War stuff? I don't know, but this is as close as the game comes to doing QTEs, frankly. The game will explain a few more mechanics. The game will reveal a couple more mechanics in about the next 2 or 3 rooms. So in the next couple of minutes, the game will dribble out a couple more mechanics that we'll need. But for now, we're mashing on buttons, we're dashing around. In fact, the game's going to finally explain how the sliding system works pretty shortly. By the way, this game is rated M for nudity, apparently. I don't know what... Okay, let's be honest. She's wearing a thong. She's wearing, dental floss she's basically wearing dental floss and Daisy Dukes. But apart from that, she's not nude. I mean, maybe I missed something. Because I went to Steam, and Steam was like, yeah, you might not want to watch this video at work because of nudity. I'm like, okay. Do you have the same standards for most of the Japanese games I've seen on Steam? Now I don't mean like the nasty, naughty ones. I mean like the traditional JRPGs, like, Star Ocean. Do you have a nudity warning on that? Because there's some pretty interesting costume design in those Star Ocean games lately. I have Star Ocean games on my channel if you're curious. I will not be talking about those in this game, however. Actually, I might end up talking about it in passing, but this is one of those games where the presentation isn't that great, frankly. The story's not good. In fact, the story's awful in some parts. She never stops talking. So all this dialogue that she's spewing with all the subtitles, you can safely ignore it. I'm not paying attention to it myself. I guess the English voice acting's okay, but like I said, the dialogue's not great. The story's completely skippable, and it's just as well. Because this, I mean, come on, Bayonetta's a stupid story too. But this game is less aggressively stupid than Bayonetta as far as the story goes. So if you're into Platinum games for their bizarre, mature sensibilities, this is not the game for you. This is not a game that you play to see a wacky story. Because the game's so hard, you probably won't be able to appreciate it. Platinum games have easy modes. Bayonetta 2 practically has a gamepad easy mode where you touch the screen, and Bayonetta automatically attacks the enemy for you. Thus, confirming and bolting the spectacle onto the spectacle fighter by removing the fighting part and just making it spectacle, if you want to play that way. I don't think that's the kind of easy mode people were asking for when they talk about Dark Souls and Sekiro, but this game has no easy mode. If there were an easy mode, I mean, I guess enemies would do less damage to you. Whoops, stuff like that wouldn't happen. So you see the enemies rearing up, so I'm going to have to start using my vertical attacks. Yes, these guys will surround you. They're not quick, but these enemies are not quick, but they will surround you very quickly. When they start that combo, it's not interruptible. I want to say it's not interruptible, so, yep. Okay, I'm in trouble. I'm already in trouble, look at that. Press left on the D-pad to use one of your healing items. I don't know when they recharge. They do recharge at random intervals. I don't remember what the intervals are. This game did not come with a manual. Talk about that later. Okay. Mash on that sword button because there's only one enemy left. So you saw me go vertical that one time because I wanted to make sure the enemies near me weren't going to attack me in the middle of my combo. Oop, spiders. Get vertical. Oh, you see that RB button right there? Normally that's used for counters, but it's also a finishing move. So if you weaken an enemy enough so that RB prompt appears, you can press RB to finish them off. It's a quick little QTE. It's not like Bayonetta where you mash on a button 8 or 9 times to just see some Dom sub to see some Dom sub video play out. Yeah, some 50 Shades of Bayonetta fantasy play out. You're actually just doing a quick little finishing move, a quick little QTE, and there's a little bokeh depth of field going on so that the background disappears, so the frame rate actually goes way up when you do those QTEs, which I think is kind of cute. And while you're in the middle of those QTEs, enemies back off. They're stunned by your brilliance, I guess. But again, it's part of the strategy. When you do those QTEs, it destroys enemies. It also gives you a tiny bit of breathing room. So I almost always do that when that prompt appears, because I know an enemy's dead, and I know the enemies will back off for a brief second as soon as I complete it. So again, there's a bit of subtlety to that I wasn't expecting. You're mashing on these buttons, but after a while you realize that, you know what, this button mashing has an optimal strategy attached to it. You can employ it tactically a little bit to kind of stay alive when the enemy starts surrounding you. And there are going to be instances where the best way to play this game is to abuse those mechanics as quickly, as often as you can, so that you're less likely to take damage. Again, because the enemies are so fast, and sometimes they hit really hard. Yeah, I got a rifle now. Okay, this game does have third-person shooting. Press the right stick. Press the left stick to zoom in. You can hold down the left stick, actually, to zoom in. I thought this was a toggle option. Let me check on that. I thought there was a toggle option for this. No. Guess there's no toggle there. Okay, so there's no toggle for that. So you can just hold down the left trigger for that. Press the right trigger, and you end up shooting that thing, which initiates these enemies to come to life. Well, then get my vertical on. Okay, let me just get out the way. You can air dash as well by pressing the right trigger. I have a special attack, in case you're wondering. I guess the game forgot to... Yeah, I was restarting from the beginning. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean. Ignition. You press the B button to prepare your magic attack, you press the X button for a fire spell, the A button for a heavy attack, and the Y button for a freeze attack. I thought I started the game from the beginning, and so everything would be reset. But the game has tutorial sections where you're allowed to practice with those. So eventually, when we get later on in the game, I'll show you those. But the idea is that you basically choose which magic spell you want at the beginning of the game. When you get to the first altar that I passed earlier in the game, you can choose. Do you want ignition or freeze? I chose freeze normally. When you get to the second altar, you're able to choose either ignition or heavy strike, and I chose heavy strike the second time. There's also a few other things I got, like the ability to dash, the ability to target, the ability to dash to flying coral, which you'll see a bit later. These little flowers that you can dash to, and you can grab onto them. They're like floating rings in Castlevania 4. You dash towards them, and then you grab onto them. So that's how you traverse certain areas of the game. Gotta keep pressing the button. Like I said, weird God of War stuff. Gotta use my rifle to deal with these guys. These guys are kind of annoying, but you can strafe with the by pressing the left stick to the left and right. I don't need to zoom in, but sometimes it helps. The strafing's pretty easy. So you press the right stick, press left or right on the left stick to strafe, up and down to move forward and backward. Use the right stick to aim up and down, but you don't really have to do that much. You can. The sensitivity on this is pretty good with a gamepad. I want to say this game was made for a gamepad. I cannot really say very much about how this game controls with a mouse and keyboard, because I'm not comfortable playing games like this with a mouse and keyboard. It's too demanding, and I'm not very comfortable using a mouse and a keyboard to move around. Okay, these enemies are fast, so I'm going to have to see if I can wail on them. I'm not going to use my magic yet, so I'll just wail on them a bit, press the RB button to finish them off, get vertical with the Y button to keep enemies from getting too close to me and attacking me while I'm in the middle of a combo. So again, you can integrate dodging into your combo, so you can keep your combo going by pressing that Y button, which also helps you avoid enemies that are nearby. Which again, I just kind of figured out last night when I was playing the game again. I said, you know what, there's actually more to this combat than I thought, because you can actually integrate the dodging, not the dash move, but you can actually integrate a vertical dodge to your combos to get enemies off your back. Something I wasn't expecting this game to do. Let's zoom in a bit. How many bullets does it take? 5? The reticle turns red when you're aiming properly. Press the X button to reload. Okay, next. You. He's over here somewhere. Okay, there he is. He's behind the foliage. Well, I do like the visuals in this game generally. I have the game on low settings, obviously, so the game's not going to look very good. Okay, we're done. Whoop, more of these guys. Okay, gotta press the right stick to put the gun away. So keep that in mind. Okay, so I finished him off. Okay. I'm gonna go vertical more often with these guys because they're so fast. They basically do a lot of hit and run. I believe they're called locusts. In fact, it's supposed to say right here. Press the select button here for the inventory. Oh, I forgot to equip my Swords of Dragon Might, increasing damage from fire spells. Wait, let's get to that. But I don't have any fire. Well, I do have a fire spell, actually. I have that ignition spell I told you about earlier. The usual rifle, the golden rifle, dashing an enemy gives you additional rage, increases the effectiveness of fire disease. You mean the magic attack I have? This increases total health. Rage doesn't completely reset to receiving burning enemies deal less damage. I don't know if we have any burning enemies around here. This is the effect of rage and fire disease. Let's do this one first. I don't even remember where I got this, because I finished the Dismal Swamp DLC. Maybe that's where I got it from, I don't know. Slide, already mentioned. Orders for will be explained later. Gather chi. I can gather chi from defeated enemies. What's that for? I forget. I want to say it's so I can build up my rage meter. Dash to object. That will be explained later. You can dash to enemies. We'll get that. Land a heavy strike when the enemies are in front of you. Freeze mastery. Yeah, I got that from one of the altars. So I guess I'll have to explain all that again. Because I went through this in my Blades of Time video when I was playing on the Xbox 360. So just to clarify, you only have a couple of spells available when you first start the game. You unlock more as you go. But for the most part, you have to grab the spells that are there, which is fine. You're just basically choosing which spell you want first. So the progression isn't really dependent on which spell you choose first. Just how do you want... Basically, do you want to freeze enemies and immobilize them, which is what I usually do, or do you want to just set them on fire and do burn damage for a couple of extra seconds? So I want to say it's usually not a big deal, depending on how you want to play the game. Like, how do you want to deal with certain enemies, basically. You usually don't need the magic right away, but you might want it in certain situations where you realize you're dealing with several enemies at once, you're going to die. So if you can line them all up in a line, if you can get them all in a line, you might be able to, if you can get all the enemies in a line, you can hit them with one magic spell, basically. So that might be one way to deal with them. These spiders that hit you with poison, apparently. RB. Look out. Gotta dash to the enemies by pressing that R button. Or excuse me, the right trigger. So that's how you get around them. You gotta close the distance pretty quickly because they spit at you so quickly. So you close the distance by pressing the right trigger, and then you just mash on your melee attack button. Okay, someone else is shooting at me, right? No, we're done. I'm pressing the left trigger and no one's appearing, so that means all the enemies might be dead. The music hasn't stopped. Now it's stopped. Frame rate dipped to 40 there, so I don't know what's going on. That'd be too many effects going on screen. There's another altar, so let's see what we can do at this point. Okay, so yeah, I've already unlocked what the altar was going to give me here. I want to say this is the second altar, so this is where I would have chosen the heavy strike attack. And I also would have been forced to take the dash to enemy skill. So now if I press the left trigger, I'll be able to actually notice this isn't dash to enemy, it's dash to coral, because I'm going to need that in this room. But first, before I show you the corals, let me take out these enemies. This is the rifle that I picked up, the Sky Ranger rifle, whatever it's called. I guess it looks quite... It doesn't do that much more damage, does it? There's another one. Here he is. Just a second. Let's reload this thing. Yeah, so you have to press the right stick to wield the gun. You have to press the X button if you want to reload. You can't reload by switching weapons, which I guess makes sense. We done? Yeah, we're done. Okay. Let me show you these floating things. This room's actually kind of annoying because it took me a while to figure out where to go. Whoops, wrong button. Sorry, ignore what I just did there. It's not important yet. Down. It's supposed to tell me where the treasure is, though. I already got this treasure, so never mind. I guess I thought everything was going to reset when I restarted the game. Oops. Let's get more chi out of these things. I don't even know if you get that much chi out of these things anyway. Yeah, here they are. These coral right here. Whoops. Let me zoom in. I want to show you this. Zoom in on these coral. These coral, you can grab onto them. Press the left trigger to target the coral like this. Then when you're ready, press the right trigger to zoom, to dash to that particular coral. That's how you traverse some vertical areas in this game. Whoops. Got these guys right here. They're not hard, it's just that you kind of want to take them out as soon as you start taking damage from them. Okay, there are more corals on the other side, I want to say. I always get stuck here. Let's go down a bit. Whoop. Nice gravity they added there. Okay, so here's a coral right here. So I'm going to hold down the left trigger and press RT multiple times to automatically get to the top. Watch what happens. RT. RT. Where's the other? RT. 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 See? Again, that didn't seem to make very much sense, but I knew the corals were going to be there because I've been through this area before. So the idea is you're supposed to know where the corals are, hold down the left trigger, hold down the left trigger like that, and just press RT to dash immediately towards them. So if you're facing the right direction, as long as you're holding down left trigger, you can just mash on the RT button to get past that part. So I kind of see what they're trying to do. Trying to get you comfortable with the idea of coral dashing to quickly climb vertical shafts and things like that. This button might open that huge gate. Get used to these. You'll see a lot of these very shortly. In fact, there are a few puzzles attached to this. Okay, I gotta go vertical. It's ridiculous. Okay, or I can just dash out the way. That also works. See? So as soon as I landed from that somersault spiral kick right there, it did a tiny bit of damage to the ground and got some of the enemies off my case. We good? Dash. Okay, he's down. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I should mention this. On the top of the screen on the left-hand side, you see that those yellow blocks? That's my rage meter. If you see a skull right there that's in orange, that means I can execute one of my magic attacks. So I'll show you those a bit later. So as I attack enemies, I build up that rage meter by getting yellow blocks. Eventually, I get those skulls. Those orange skulls, it means I can execute one magic attack. I don't know if I build rage by